Welcome back to Ball Strength and Conditioning here on the East Coast for another edition of Build the Beast. My name is Art Boss alongside of my training partner Rick Howard. Today we're going to break down the tire flip, a great movement to develop overall strength, power, and anaerobic conditioning. One me and Rick have been training for over 10 years for Strongman contests here on the East Coast.
And a tire flip is a really versatile type of an exercise that you can do, but you do need a tire. So we're going to show you how to actually do this exercise with a tire so that you can work on getting that nice triple extension that's so important for a lot of athletic qualities. And it's just a great tool to build up your either aerobic endurance, your muscle endurance, power, and or strength.
Awesome. That being said, let's build the beast. All right, first thing you're going to need is a tire. So I have a zillion of them and I got all of them for free. The 1,200-pound tire that I'm sitting on, they actually delivered right to me. Dropped it off because there was no way I could even get it. And they'll do that for you. If you just go down and talk to them, most of the time they'll at least give it to you for free. If not, possibly deliver it right to your house. And it'll save them a lot of money because they have to pay to have it disposed of. So they're actually anxious to do that for you. So first thing, if you need a tire, just go down to your local store. They'll hook you up. Okay, now I'm going to break down the steps to the tire flip. There's really two steps, which is a pull and a push, sandwiching in a transition. So totally three steps, but you start with a pull, and the objective of the pull is to explode into the transition. You want to like drive up with so much force, a triple extension, hard enough and forceful enough to kind of suspend the tire. At least that's the way I train it. So I triple extend it up, bump it with a hip, and then catch it. So it's kind of like the Olympic lifts, the power clean, power snatch, and power jerk, where the weight is actually so forcefully lifted that it actually is weightless, and then you come under it. So that's my trick anyway, and the way I train it, and I'll show you the technique. So, and I see a lot of variations on this. And it's really just a matter of how tall you are, how long your arms are. So everybody is different. So what I like is a fairly close stance, and then drive up with my legs. Just, I kind of like, once I get my hand set and down into position, I preload. So I tighten up the whole body and then just drive up, and then at the top, I'll do a little, when I bump with the hip, I'll pull my shoulders back and lift a little bit with my hands. I've done it so much that I really don't even consciously think about it. And then I fall under it to transition. So, and it's very fast and very powerful. And we've been training for a while today, and it took us a while to get that speed going. So it's not something that comes easy and comes quick. So, for the stance, if you were to take a vertical jump test and just jump as high as you could, you would want your feet in a advantageous position, and that can be trial and error. But mine is just in my squat position, is slightly wider than the hips, and then I come in between the hips to grab, and then preload, and then force up, and bump and catch. And then the third portion of the lift is a push, which you just want to push as hard as you can. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but you don't want to just push easy. You want to push hard. If you're in a contest and that tire needs to go a specific distance, then you want that tire to move on the ground as much as possible to minimize the number of lifts you're doing. And if you're not in a contest, it's just a mental thing where you're just going as hard as you can and you keep it in every position of the lift. And that's the way I teach it. So Rick, I'll flip that back and then you're up.
Cool. All right, so there are a couple different ways you can actually flip the tire. It's best when you're starting off to keep the tire upright like this, because you can get an idea for the weight of the tire by pushing on it as forcefully as possible, as Art had mentioned. A couple things: if you see this tire, it doesn't have a whole lot of tread on it, but you do want to get your hands right on the tire part of it, not in between. It's dangerous if your hands are in between, so make sure they are in that position. So with this forceful push of the tire, you can see what kind of weight it's going to take, how much exercise and force it's going to take from you in order to be able to make this work. Based on your grip and your stance, you could do a sumo stance with your hands inside your legs, traditional stance with your hands outside. Depends on your biomechanics, your limb lengths, your flexibility, and where the grips of the tire are. Sometimes you have to move to be able to get into that right stance. The other important thing is this is not a deadlift and it's not a clean. It doesn't come straight up in the air. It has slight arc to it. So what you'd like to do is try to get your chest against the tire as you lift, kind of in that arc pattern. So you're going to forcefully apply force up and forward as you do that. So I'll set my stance, get underneath. You can see my hips are not very flexible. You want your hips and shoulders to rise at the same rate. So depending on what your position is, that'll dictate where you are. Get underneath, try to find that grip spot, and then pick it up. I rested on my knee. That is how I learned it. When you're just starting off, this is a great way to do it. Now you have it in a nice support spot. You can either come back underneath, push it back up so that it's up in the air, as Art had mentioned. Now it's in this position, and then you can forcefully throw it back down again, like that. Ready? Okay. All right. So Art is going to show us once again how to do the tire flip, and what we're going to talk about this time through is the muscles that are worked while you flip the tire. As you can see, you're going to use your pushing muscles as you push the tire to the ground. So you'll be forcefully activating your pecs, shoulders, and tries. From this position, you're in your nice squat position. So this is excellent triple extension as Art comes up off the ground using his shoulders, his back, his glutes, his hamstrings, his calves, and everything. Once he gets it to the position, then he goes back to his pushing movement. So essentially, he's working every muscle in his body. There's some talk about whether or not this transfers over to sport, and you can see that this is working all the muscles. It's in motion, so it's an excellent application to sports principles.
Okay, just a couple of do's and don'ts and tips to help you get the most out of the tire flip and train it safely. Number one is to train singles. Don't try to do too many. You want to perfect the movement, and it's always good to go in, do it once, take a rest, recoup, and then go back at it. So until you really perfect the movement and you're knocking the singles out with ease and good form, just keep at the singles until you get that right. And a couple of safety tips is just to do a thorough general warm-up prior to training the tire. You want to get the blood flowing to your biceps, which is a great concern to a lot of people who train the tire, because occasionally there is the chance of bicep tear. So you really want to warm up the biceps and really just every muscle in the body. Do some freehand squats and just get the blood flowing all over. And also don't train for 2 days prior to training the tire. So if you do back the day before, that's going to hinder your performance, and if you train legs 2 days before, that's going to hinder it. So it's always been my policy, 2 days off before you train the tire, and that ensures a safe tire lift.
Cool. A couple other things is some sources say that the tire shouldn't be any taller than the athlete. Depends on the height of the athlete, of course, and as Art showed you, you're going to forcefully push the tire over anyway. So once it gets to here, it's not going to be taller, but if it is, it's a biomechanical disadvantage. It's harder to push from up here, but just recognize that when you try to work on your technique working through the tire. The second thing is it's for your outdoor athletes, it's pretty warm today. So the tire can get very, very hot, so we don't want anybody getting burned from flipping a tire. So either try to keep it covered with a dry towel or move it under a shady area when you're not flipping it to make sure that you don't get burned by flipping the tire.
And another safety concern is if the tire is wet from rain, or even if your hands are wet from sweat, don't train it. It's always nice to have some liquid chalk on hand or some powder chalk to dry out your hands if that's, you know, just the case on a dry day. But if it's raining, don't train it. So that being said, we want to just really thank you for tuning in, and please hit that like button and the subscribe button. We appreciate it. That really supports our channel, and hopefully this will help you incorporate the tire into your training. And Rick?
Yeah, and if you have any questions on any of the techniques that we show you, either for the tire or any of the other videos that we put together, please let us know. You can comment in the box below or shoot us a text or an email. Let us know how we can help, what other movements you might want to see, and how we can help you love Strongman as much as we do.
Stay strong, and thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.
Until next time.